Hello guys, and welcome to another session of Excel for Work, our virtual training that is going to allow you to work smart and increase productivity at your workplace. In today's session, we'll be looking at topic 5, which is manipulating and cleaning data using text functions. Now, in most cases, when we bring data, we pull data from our systems or we receive data from other people, it does not come in the structure or in the inputs we need for our analysis or calculations. So sometimes we need to make some changes, how the name is spelled or how it's written, how certain columns are looking. So Excel has very helpful and handy functions called text functions that helps us to manipulate and clean up data so that we can put them in the right structure and shape for our data analysis. So I'm going to take you through some of the legacy text functions, which are the old functions before the recently released 14 new text functions. So let's start with the legacy text functions. So I'm going to take a look at a couple of common text functions in Excel. We're first going to start with left, right, and mid. Left. So the left function is a very useful function that helps us to extract number of characters starting from the left hand side of a text. So for instance, in this requirement, you have employee ID and you have salesperson's names. Now the employee ID is structured in such a way that it indicates the region, the branch code of the employee, and then it indicates their grading. Okay, so whether there's a grade A employee, a grade B, or however. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and extract the region code using left. Okay, so equal to left. Then you need to bring the text. So in this case, the employee ID and the current number of characters you're interested in. So in this case, the number of characters is 2 throughout. So I can just indicate 2, close my bracket, and enter. So with that done, I can just copy this down. And I have the region code for every employee. Okay. Now let's do the same for the employee ID. Let's try and extract the rating. Okay. So in this instance, the function we're going to be using is called right. So we're extracting from the right hand side of the text. So equal to right, the text, and then number of characters, 2. Enter. And we have the grade for the first, and we can copy this down. Okay. So right allows us to extract on the right hand side, and left allows us to extract on the left hand side of a text. Now the next one is the mid function. The mid functions allows you to extract from within a text. So when a text doesn't start from the very first character on the left hand side, you need to use the mid function. So in this instance, you want to extract the ID number or the number in the ID, which represents their branch code. So equal to mid. This is your text. Now you need to indicate the start number. So in this case, the start number is 4 because 1 is the 4th character in this. And then the number of characters you need, that's 3. And enter. And you can copy this down. And you realize that this applies for all of them because the structure of the ID is the same throughout. From the beginning to the end, we have the same structure for all the IDs. So we can expect that once we get it right for the first one, we can copy this down. But then if we come back to left and we try to extract some component of a text, which is not the same structure throughout. For example, let's try and extract the first name of this salesperson, Leon. So left, this is our text. We want Leon, which is the first 4 characters. So 4, enter, and we have Leon. However, if we try to copy this down, we're going to face a challenge because you realize that even though Leon is right over here, which is 4, Christensen is more than 4 characters. Okay, so we need to come up with a smart way to let Excel know exactly how many characters it needs to extract for each name. Okay, now to do this, you need to identify something that runs through for all the names in your list. So we call this a delimiter. You need to find a delimiter that separates what you want from the rest of the text, and that runs through all the text in your list. So for example, you realize that we have a comma space after every first name. So that can be our delimiter, and we can use that to extract the first name of each person. However, we need to find a smart way to determine the position of each space in the text. Once we determine the position of the space, we can tell Excel to extract all text that come before the space. So we can use the function called find. So equal to find. So it returns the starting position of one text string within another text string. And find is case sensitive. So if I do find, and I said I want you to find comma within this text. Okay. Close bracket, enter. It tells me that comma is the 5th character in this case. The comma is the 12th character, is the 7th character, 5th character, and so on and so forth. So knowing this, we can use the position of the comma to find where the first name ends. So if you look at the instance of Leon, the first name ended at the 4th character and the comma was the 5th character. So if we adjust this and we select our find -1, we can copy this down and get our answer. So these are the first name of each salesperson. Alternatively, instead of creating the formula in another cell, we can create this formula here. So find in square bracket in double quotation, comma, from this text, -1. Enter. I can copy this down and I can delete this. Let's give our hands a try on right. Now in this case, we are being asked to extract the last name of each salesperson. Okay. So if we try to extract the very first name equal to right, this is our text, and our number of characters is 5. And that gives us MA. But again, when we copy this down, we do not get the right results for the subsequent ones that are either less or more than 5. Okay. So again, we need to find a dynamic way to determine where exactly the last name starts from and then how many characters to extract. So knowing the find function, we can use that to determine the delimiter or the position of the space which separates the first name from the last name. So equal to find space within the text. So within this text, close bracket and enter. This tells me the position of the space in each text. So you realize that in this case, the space is the 6th character. Here, the space is the 13th character, and so on and so forth. However, we need to determine how many characters come after the space. So we know the space is the 13th character, but then how many characters follow the space? If we knew the total length of characters and we subtracted the position of the space, we will know how many characters are left. So the function we're going to use to know the position or the length of the text is called len, L-E-N, len. So let me insert a column here first, Alt-H-I-C, I'm going to use the len function. So equal to len. So len returns the number of characters within a text string. So you select the text string, close bracket, enter. So these are the number of characters within the text string we're trying to extract from. And this is the position of the space. If I subtract the 2, I expect to get the number of characters that make up the last name. Okay, with this in place, I can simply change this to this and copy this down. And this gives me my last names. Okay, so typically the formula is supposed to be written this way. First, the length of the character subtracted by find space within the text, close bracket, enter, and I can copy this down, Control D, and I can take this off now, and it will still work. The last bit is to extract the middle name using the med function. So right here we have the middle name separated the comma and the space, comma and the space. So let's try and do this. So equal to mid. This is our text. Start number in this case is going to be 6 for Mike. Number of characters is 3. However, if we try copying this down, we expect to get errors because our text structures are not the same for the subsequent names in the list. Okay, so what we have to do again is to find a dynamic way to tell Excel where the middle name starts from and where it ends. Okay, so we can simply do this by using our find function. So find, we want to find first the comma within this text. Okay, close bracket, enter. So the comma happens to be the 5th character within the text. So then we simply know that if the comma is a 5th character, we add 1, we get the starting position of our middle name, in this case 6. Okay, now the subsequent thing is to determine where it ends. Okay, so if you have find again, this time we want to find space, okay, within this text. Space happens to be the 9th character. So you realize when you subtract this 2, it will give you the length of the middle name. So that's the same approach we're going to be using in this instance. So let me take this. So equal to mid. This is the text. The start number is the first character after the comma. So find the position of the comma within this text plus 1 for the next character. And the number of characters is first going to be comma. And the number of characters is going to be find the space within this text subtracted by the position of the comma within that same text, as we illustrated over here. So with this done, I can close my bracket and enter, and I can copy this down. Okay, now let's look at some easier or simpler text functions that are very useful. Now, if you have names or you have a list of text strings written in one case and you need to change them, there are some useful cases or useful functions you can use called upper, lower, and proper case. The proper case is when the first character of the word has been capitalized and subsequent characters are in lowercase. Now, if I want to change this uppercase to uppercase, function to use is upper. Select the text, close brackets, and enter. And it gives me the text in uppercase. I copy this down, and there you have it. Same goes for lower. Select the text, close brackets, enter. You can copy this down. And then if I have a lower case, which I want to change into proper case, it's going to be equal to proper. Tab to select. You select the text, close bracket, enter. These are relatively simple and straightforward to understand. Okay. Now, if I want to put these names together, how do I go about it? So there are two ways to do this. You can use the function concatenate, or you can use the ampersand sign. So let's first use the function to concatenate. So we just simply select each text. So I'm going to select each text. Upper, which is the first name, comma, the middle name, and the last name. I have something like this. Enter. And I copy down. I have this. So you realize that even though I've gotten the right thing, there's a little problem with my names. First, there are no spaces. So in concatenate, you can introduce spaces as text as well. So after each text, before you bring the next one, introduce a space and a comma, like this. A space and a comma, like that. Enter, and I can copy this down. We just learned about cases, so I can wrap this around a proper case. Close brackets. Copy this down. That's one way to go about this. You can also use the ampersand symbol. So this is the ampersand symbol. So equal to my first name, Leon. Before introducing my space, I'm going to bring the ampersand, and then my space as the text on its own, and then the ampersand again. Again the ampersand, my space, ampersand, and then the last name. Enter, and I have this, and I can copy this down. If I want to change this, all I need to do is wrap this in the proper case. Close the brackets, enter, and copy this down. So that is how you can join several texts together to form a new text in a cell using concatenate and the ampersand sign. So these are typically some of the legacy text functions that we used before the new functions were released. Okay, now let's try our hands on some of the 365 functions that have been released. Okay, so now we're going to try and use Excel's new 365 text functions to accomplish the same thing we just did with legacy text functions. Okay, in today's sessions, two of the main topics or two of the main new text functions we'll be paying attention to is text before and text after, but there are a host of other ones as well, which I'll try and touch on as much as possible. Okay, so let's start with this side. Okay, so now we want to extract the region code from the employee ID, which is the chain R, AS, WE, so on and so forth. Okay, so using Excel's new text before function. So text before, the arguments are you first provide the text. So this is my text, and the delimiter. The delimiter is a character that is separating one component of the text from another component of the text. In this case, it's the underscore. So underscore, like that. Okay, now you have other options like provide the instance. So probably I didn't want to use the first instance of the underscore. I wanted to use the second instance. In this case, I'll bring a comma and I'll bring 2. But for the first instance, it's by default, so you don't need to provide it. Then we have the match mode. Match mode is whether it should be exactly like the delimiter you want or approximate to the delimiter. Match end, and then we have if not found. So I'm going to close this because I don't need those. I'll hit enter and I have GR like that. I can copy this down and I have this. That works. Okay. Another way to do this is, let's try with the first name. So together, text before. Okay. My text, which is the first name. But since I'm doing it for everything and this is 365, I can select my entire range. For those who are not using 365, this will not work. You need to just select it one by one. Comma. And your delimiter, again, in this case, is what? A comma. So I'm going to bring double quotation, bring my comma, close quotation, and close my function, enter. And there you have it. That's the first name. Okay. So that's it for text before. Now let's try text after. Okay. So now text after works just like text before. Okay. So my text in this case is employee ID. Now my delimiter again is the underscore, close brackets. You see that? When I hit enter. So when I hit enter, you realize I get 121 underscore a minus, okay, because it's giving me everything after the underscore. A little modification to our formula. So I'm going to take off the closing bracket, bring a comma, 2, close bracket, enter, and I have this. But then the obvious question here in this case is, what happens if we do not know the instance of our underscores? Maybe some of them have 3, some of them have 2 underscores. What do we do? For instance, let's say this one has an underscore over here. Okay, so then you have a problem. So how do you ensure that you always get the last bits? So what you can use in this case for the last underscore, let's use -1, enter. When you copy this down, -1 will always ensure you get the last instance of the underscore, regardless of the number of underscores you have. Okay, so let's try last name. So equal to text after. Okay, this is my text. Now in this case, what will be my delimiter? Okay, so my delimiter is just not going to be the comma, or it's just not going to be the space, but both. So I can do comma, space, and that's actually just a space will also work, but I want you to realize that comma space also works. And I can close this like that, enter, and I have Emily, and I can copy this down like that. So with text after, it's going to provide everything that follows after the delimiter. Okay, which makes life so much easier. Okay, now to the last bits, which is very interesting. It says the number in the ID. So 121, 122, so on and so forth. How do we extract this using Excel's new functions? Unfortunately, we do not have text between, or at least as at now, as I'm doing this video, I do not know of any function like text between. So we have to use both. So text after. When you do text after, select this. My delimiter is going to be the underscore like this, right? And then yes, I'm going to do test before. So I'm going to select this text before, and then this entire thing is going to be my text now. So I'll bring a comma after this. So this result becomes my text now, and then underscore again like that, and I have the number. I can copy this down, and there you have it. Right? Good. Fantastic. Okay, so let's do the middle name together. So middle name, So first we do test after. Okay, so we want to find all names after the comma. So we select the names. I can select everything like this, and my delimiter is going to be double quotation, comma, close quotation, close my function. And I have Mike, Emily, Jajel, so on and so forth. Now I'm going to do a text before. So text before. Now what's going to be my delimiter in this case? Fantastic, a space. So space like that, and enter. And that's how we get the middle names. So together you can combine text before and text after to get what I like to call the text between, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is try and quickly look at another very important text function that has been newly introduced called the TEXTSPLIT. So taking into consideration this employee ID, supposing we wanted to split it into the code, original code, the number, and the grade with one function, we use what we call the TEXTSPLIT function. Okay, there's my text. Okay, so column delimiter is this. Now I'm placing it in the column delimiter section because I want it to split across columns. If I wanted it to split across rows, I'll provide what the row delimiter like this. Enter. We have this GR. We have 121, and we have the grade over here. So let's try the row delimiter and see how it's gonna look. So clear this. If I want to go to the next section without providing column delimiter, I just bring this, and then like that, and enter. And we have like this. GL 121 A minus. So that's how it works. Okay, I'm going to reverse this like this. So this is how you split a particular cell content into columns using TEXTSPLIT. Let me delete this and try this with the salesperson's name. So over here we have salesperson's name, Leon, Mark, Emily. Okay, now we want to split Leon, Mike, and Emily into various columns. But the problem with the catch here is you realize that the delimiters are different. So we have a comma and then we have a space, a comma and a space. So how do we go about this? So TEXTSPLIT. Okay, so this is our text. Now I'm going to split across columns. So this is where we're going to provide our delimiters. But delimiters are 2. So in X, I want to provide a list of anything. You need the curly brackets. So I bring the curly brackets. My first delimiter is a comma, double quotation. Second delimiter is a space, also in double quotation. And close curly brackets. And I can close my function. When I hit enter, I have Leon, Mike, Emily. Without providing this curly bracket solution, if I just bring space like this, I'm going to get something like this. If I just bring only this, I'm going to get something like this. So it's very critical that I provide the curly bracket solution. Okay, so when we reverse this to this, we have our curly brackets with the list of delimiters that we need to use. Okay, so you can just copy this down like that, and voila. So text function is also one of the very crucial new text 365 functions that we provided for us. So this is how you use them to solve your daily manipulation of data problems. Okay, now let's move on to the next section using Excel's new unique function. One of the very popular 365 functions that have been introduced is the unique function. The unique function is very simple and easy to use. Okay, so let's take this example. We have some sales transactions, we have dates, we have salespersons, we have customers, the products they purchased, and how much the sales was. Okay, now this runs from 7th August all the way to 17th August. And the question here is, produce the distinct list of employees that made sales within the period. Okay, so you realize that we have some employees making sales. Those are the salespersons, but we have duplicates Owen Roberts repeating 3 times, and so on. We want to produce a unique list of employees or salespersons that made a sales within a period. So the function to use in the new Excel 365 is unique. You select your array, and that's it. So you close your bracket and enter, and you have your unique lists. Prior to 365, if you had to do this, you had to select your array this way, probably copy it, and you have to paste in here. So Control Alt V, paste in as value. Then you go to data, then you remove duplicates with this. Okay. So you realize that this is how you probably have removed duplicates if you do not have the unique function. But with the unique function, one, you're able to do it with very few clicks, and two, if a new transaction comes in. So if this happened to be done, you will see a what? Then you also your it's automatically included, and that expands. However, over here, that doesn't work. Okay, so that is one advantage of using 365 functions. Okay, but there are more things unique function can do. For example, we want to extract the list of one-time buyers, customers that purchase from us, equal to unique. You select your array. So this array or list of customers. Okay, now this is not really compulsory. We can skip that with another comma. Now we want to return items that appear exactly once. So I'm going to tap this, true, close bracket, and enter. So Corporate, Livingstone, CompuGhana, and Godsway Ventures were the only customers that purchased once from us. These are some of the useful ways you can use unique in getting answers from your data sets. The last functions we're going to be looking at are the new sort and sort by functions in Excel. So prior to these functions, what we used was the sort button in the home tab. So when you come to home, you come to sort, you can sort by ascending or descending order. Okay, but now you can actually sort with a function. So let's take this instance. You have this same data set we just looked at. So sort the sales records from the most recent to the oldest. That's to sort these transactions in descending order. So we're going to do is equal to sort. Okay. Now the sort function allows you to sort an array based on a column within your array selection. So if I select this as my array I want to sort, okay, it's going to ask me for the sort index. The sort index is the column I'm going to use in sorting this list of transactions. That's the date. So you have to provide the index number. That's the first in my selection. So 1. In what order do I want to sort this? In descending order. So descending. And then I can provide more arguments by either I want to sort by column or by row. But then by default it's by column. So I'm going to close this and enter. And that spells providing a sort of the most recent transactions to the oldest transactions. Okay, let's try another example. It says sort your list based on the largest sales amount recorded to the least sales amount. So we're going to sort the same array, this time with sales. So equal to sort. I want to sort this array. Okay, the sort index in this time is the sales, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. which is the fifth column in our selection. So 5. And then we're going to sort in descending order because it wants the largest sales to the least sales. And then we can close bracket and enter. And we have this. So this time sales have been sorted in descending order from the largest to the least. So I can convert this to accounting format, Alt HK. That is more visible. Great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the other sort function, which is sort by. Now, sort by gives you a little bit more flexibility than the sort column. Now, with the sort by column, you're going to sort an array by another column. It could be a column within your array selection, or it could be another column that's not part of your array selection. So, for example, you want to produce the list containing only the names of employees, sorted by the amount of sales recorded by each of them in ascending order. So the person with the least sales first, all the way to the largest. Realize in this task, you're not supposed to provide the sales amount. You're just sorting the names of the individuals by their sales. So equal to sort by. Okay. You select your array. So this is my array. Okay. Now I'm sorting it by sales amounts. So realize sales is not part of my initial array. Okay. And this is going to be sorted in ascending order in this case. Okay, and I can close this and enter. So realize that this is being sorted by this. Is that okay? Great. Okay, now let's try and see how this can be very useful. So we want to sort sales record from the most recent transaction to the oldest transaction. Okay, we tried to achieve this with the initial sort function, but if you pay attention to this, you realize that we did this over here. The most recent transaction was Livingstone selling to Freddy's Corner an Apple Watch of this amount. But that is not the most recent transaction recorded over here. Okay, because over here, once we are sorting by dates, it's going to pick up the very first date as the most recent of that date. You get it? But we want to be able to sort this in such a way that the most recent will be at the bottom. Okay, in this case, we will need an array like this one that provides us an index of each transaction so that we know that this transaction is the most recent with the largest index number. So the function we're going to use in creating this index is called sequence. A sequence is a very simple 365 function that provides a sequence of numbers starting from one point and ending at another point. Okay, so over here I'm going to do equal to sequence. Now all I need to do is to state how many rows I need my sequence to be in. Now currently, if I guess 20 and I hit enter, this gives me 20, but I want to have a dynamic way to know how many rows I need to fill up. So I can use Excel's counter function and select this array. So I want Excel to count the number of rows I have filled up with words and then provide a sequence for me. So that's how simple sequence works. Okay, so what I want to do in this instance is I want to sort this array by this index. So equal to sort by, this is my array, and I'm going to sort this by this index. Okay, now I'm going to state the order. This is going to be in descending order. I can close bracket and enter. And realize for this instance, even though I'm getting the same outlay in terms of columns, this time I have the most recent record on top, unlike for sort, because for sort by, I can sort by a column that is not part of my results, and then I'll get the right answer. So I hope you've learned a lot. We've covered a lot of text functions, both legacy text functions and the new TEXTSPLIT functions. So you can add this to your list of Excel tricks so you can increase your productivity at work. Thank you for joining me, and see you in the next session.
If this video was helpful and you would like to receive more of these videos directly on your WhatsApp, you can send ad to this WhatsApp number. We'll add you to our broadcast list so you receive our videos directly. You can also visit our YouTube channel, Finance Skills Hub. All our old videos are here. Please subscribe for notification of new videos, or connect with us on any of these social media handles. Thank you so much for watching.